Once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but take your time and enjoy your company at your table. And again, if you haven't found your seat, if you could please mosey on over, that'd be great. And we'll start in just a few minutes because we're going to start our Facebook stream in about 10 minutes. So we'll be back. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like you found the right place. We're here at Johnny Morris's Wonders of Wildlife, and I really appreciate everybody coming out this evening for the 23rd IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Yeah. Again, this is an incredible space that we're in. Let's keep the clapping going and clap for everybody out there on Facebook. I know we've got some people that couldn't make it tonight that wanted to see it, so everybody out there on Facebook land, good evening and welcome. My name is Eric Combast. I'm the Development Director for IGFA, and it is my absolute honor to help put on this event every year with the team that puts it all together. I love knowing some of the people that are getting in. I love meeting new people that I haven't met before, like Helen, so it's a wonderful thing. So thank you so much, and it's my honor to be here. I wanted to mention one quick thing. As you came in, you probably saw across the top here the plastic portraits, and I know you in Facebook land can't see it, but it's on our Facebook page. Those are created by our team that's now doing habitat. We're going to have them on display here at the Wonders of Wildlife, so if you didn't see them coming in, check them out. But Lisa Morris, our education manager, does a fantastic job with putting those together, and it's all from beach cleanup and plastic pieces. Reminds me a bit of Joe Yee, and he probably would have put them in the eyes, some of his lures, but they're fantastic, so please take a look. That's going to be it for me. I'm going to introduce our chairman, Mr. Roy Croniker, to please come up and say a few words.
Good evening. I want to thank each and every one of you who have made the trip to Wonders of Wildlife to honor our 5 2022 Hall of Fame inductees. This is a 23rd class event, as Eric just said. These people will join forever the 136 previous inductees to the Hall of Fame. Each one has honored our sport in a great way, one way or the other. I'd like to thank Johnny Morris, Bass Pro, for an outstanding hall. It is a phenomenal setting for this event, their presentation sponsorship. And again, thank you to the Tuna Club, the Crisdell Company, the Bonefish Tarpon and Trust for their generous donations and sponsorship for us to move forward. Unfortunately, this year is also, this is a great event. It's a happy event. We did lose 4 IGFA Hall of Famers this past year: Jose Campos, John Chibnall, Ray Scott, and Mark Sosa. And while they're no longer with the Hall of Fame, their memories will last forever in this hall. So I'd like to just ask for a brief moment of silence for our past Hall of Fame members. And with that, I'd like to introduce my friend, good friend, and president of the IGFA, Jason Stratweiser. For the past 3 years, Jason and I and the staff and the directors have worked closely together, and we have made some tremendous strides that you're going to see as we move through the process. Our conservation, our education, angler recognition programs have grown significantly. Our regional council program across the world has grown significantly. We expect to see Africa join us, and then we have Asia left out of the 7. But I'd like to go ahead and welcome to the stage Jason Stratweiser.
Well, welcome everybody. Boy, these lights are bright. How's everybody doing tonight? Great, great. Well, thank you all for being here. This is a great evening. I'm really excited about it. And I just want to say thank you, Roy, for the nice introduction. And I really want to thank you, Roy, for all the hard work that you're putting into being the IGFA chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, the IGFA is doing more now than I've ever seen in the 19 years that I've worked at this organization. And that's directly attributable to Roy's leadership as chairman. We've got a fabulous board of trustees and the best staff that anybody could hope for, along with great supporters like yourselves. So thank you very much. Tonight is really kind of a hallowed evening for the IGFA. It's really our most special event of the year. We're enshrining 5 new people into the IGFA Hall of Fame. We're here to celebrate these individuals. Here at this beautiful exhibit, I mean, look at this. I mean, if we're going to talk about Fishing Hall of Fame, a backdrop like this is pretty great, don't you think? I hope you've taken the time to walk around our exhibit and look at prior inductees, because what I'm always amazed with is the great diversity of the individuals that have come in. their different accomplishments that made them have merit to get into the IGFA Hall of Fame. Without doubt, you're going to see great anglers, people that are record seekers that have caught a lot of records and things like that, but you're also going to see educators. You're going to see historians. You're going to see scientists, conservationists, and authors. And that's what's so great about our sport. There are so many ways that we can make it better than just being a great angler. So I really think that's one of the great things about this night, this event, this ceremony. The inductees that we're honoring tonight reflect this diversity. Helen, you were a force du jour back in your days of B.A.S.S. Joe Yee was a master craftsman, is a master craftsman, and his marlin lures really revolutionized marlin fishing. I had the great honor during my early years at IGFA of working side by side with Mike Farrior and Pam Basco, and I got to know them well and their accomplishments. And I've also had the good fortune of fishing with Enrico Capozzi, so I could see his angling prowess firsthand. So I really think that this class of inductees that are coming in really does embody that great diversity that we want to represent in the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame. I'd also like to thank IGFA Trustee Emeritus Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Cabela for being our presenting sponsor and having us in this great place tonight. John unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. He's out hunting with his son. I can't blame him for that. It's that time of year. But luckily enough tonight, joining us is Bob Zemer, Senior Director of Conservation, a good friend of mine. Bob, come up and say a few words, please.
Thanks, Jason. Hey, good evening and welcome to Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium. It's been a great day here in the Ozarks, and I am excited for this special evening. The International Game Fish Association is one of the top organizations really focused on conservation in the world. And I say that based on their accomplishments, but also their reputation and just what's been accomplished. And as I look around the room, it's nice to see many familiar faces. It's been too long since we've all got together, so it is an exciting night. On behalf of Johnny Morris, the founder and CEO of Bass Pro Shops, I do want to give a hearty congratulations to this year's inductees. What a special milestone, and what a difference you all have made influencing the sport of fishing. At Bass Pro Shops, conservation is core to who we are as a company, and we recognize the passion for fishing and the out of doors really serves to unite us. And thinking about this evening in a special kind of a unique way, fishing has impacted each of us in a way, along with understanding that we all have a responsibility to take care of the resources today as well as the future generation. Those two things have brought us together tonight, and from my perspective really serve as a focal point of the past and as we move forward. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank IGFA for what your organization continues to do, the significant and lasting accomplishments that the organization is making, not just for anglers, but for the resource. And a lot of folks do not know that. I think it's important that we give a shout out. Bass Pro Shops is proud to partner with IGFA as we work to make sure that fisheries and the habitat is in a better condition, as we move forward, working to advance some major policy issues. And how do we recruit that next generation of steward or angler? And working off of Jason's comments, he made reference to the IGFA exhibit hall that's located here in Wonders of Wildlife. What an amazing hall that really highlights and celebrates select individuals that have really had a major impact on our sport of fishing. Along with that, if you go through and you look at the artifacts that are in there and others, you can see the great diversity from Ozark Clearwater streams all the way up to big saltwater fishing and everything in between. Wonders of Wildlife, since it opened in September 2017, has hosted over 5 million visitors. And many of those folks have walked through this exhibit hall and have been educated, and we're kind of looking towards IGFA and your exhibit hall really to lift other areas as well. But in closing, and I appreciate, Jason, the chance to just share a few remarks tonight. On behalf of Johnny Morris, again, congratulations to the inductees. Enjoy the evening, and again, we really appreciate our partnership that we have with IGFA.
Thanks so much, Bob. I want to reiterate what you said. It's a fantastic conservation partnership between the IGFA, Basco, and Cabela's. We've done a lot of great work, and there's more to come, so thanks for your partnership there. So before we get started with tonight's program, I have a few acknowledgments to make for some people. First, I would like to thank IGFA Chairman Roy Kronecker for his Hemingway sponsorship. Thank you very much, Roy. I'd also like to thank our Zane Grey sponsors for tonight, the Tuna Club in honor of Mike Farrior. Our great friends in Florida, Bonefish Tarpon and Trust, Mark Redbane, and IGFA trustee Mike Criscola. Thank you very much. Before I give up the program to our MC tonight, there are a few other people that I need to recognize in the audience. We have an IGFA Hall of Fame inductee and trustee, Mr. Tim Choate. Tim, where are you? Let yourself be known. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize the other trustees that I have not previously mentioned. When I call your name, if you could just put your hand up or stand up, let people know who you are. We have Stephanie Oppenheimer Choate. Thanks, Steph. Bobo Cunningham. Of course, our Master of Ceremonies, Andy Mill. Amanda Sabin. And last but not least, Ajay Vicente. I also want to give some thanks to Charles and Marissa and the team at John A. and Glenn Morris Conservation Center here at the Wonders of Wildlife for the great catering, hospitality, and food that we're going to have here tonight. It's going to add to a great experience, a great party, so thank you very much. Thanks, guys. I'm wrapping up here. So finally, I would like to give thanks to IGFA staff. I talked about how great our staff is, and I really can't talk about it enough because we have such a great, close-knit, high-performing team. Events like this take an army to pull together, both in the logistics side in terms of getting people together, making sure the menus are right, all of this stuff. But there's a lot of back-end work that's done in terms of contacting people, getting information for bios, getting pictures for scripts, writing scripts, things like that. That takes an army. A lot of people work on that, and I want to thank staff that have been a big part of that. Our development director, Eric Combass, is great on our events. Kim Strong is also wonderful in this event. So guys, stand up if you will. And I'd also like to acknowledge Jack Vitek, who is our marketing director, but he also oversees our Angler Recognition Department. Jack played a big part this year in helping pull together all the information and assemble the scripts and the videos and things like that. So guys, thank you so much. So, and with that, I am pleased to welcome our Master of Ceremonies, IGFA trustee, two-time Olympian, Aspen Hall of Fame inductee, that's new, award-winning author of A Passion for Tarpon, and the host of Millhouse Podcast. Andy, if you get any more accolades next year, I can't read all this stuff. Please, everybody, welcome Andy Mill to the stage. Thank you very much.
Well, here we go, everybody. I'd like to echo just a couple of words from Roy and Jason and the staff and how important conservation is around the world. We are fishermen and hunters, and conservation would never be what it is without the people that are engaged. And I've always told and thought that the old statement, we have to think globally but act locally. and everybody that's watching out there, you're fishermen. The conscious fisherman is the one that's going to help preserve what we have for the rest of time. Johnny Morse, just want to echo those words, he's bow hunting for elk. I'll see you Tuesday night. As much as I like to catch big fish, I like to kill big animals. They eat really well. Sorry about that. I know a lot of people might not like that, but just take a look around. We're in the house of hunting and fishing. First, I'd like to build briefly on the importance of this evening. This evening is the most important night in all of fishing. But I want to back up a little bit. As we've mentioned, the IGFA was established in 1939, and for 83 years it's been committed to the conservation of game fish and the promotion of responsible, ethical angling practices through science, education, rulemaking, record keeping, and recognition of outstanding accomplishments in the field of angling. That's basically our mission. The IGFA Hall of Fame recognizes extraordinary achievements in recreational fishing around the world by anglers, captains, scientists, conservationists, writers, or fishing industry leaders. This induction is something you cannot buy, you cannot win. Mark Sosin's words when he used to emcee this event, and we worked together for a number of years. There was no greater man in fishing, and again, we mentioned his passing. Here's to you, Mark. But his words were, there is no greater tribute in life than to be recognized and honored by one's peers. There is no greater honor in all of fishing than to be inducted into the International Game Fish Hall of Fame. Tonight we are honoring 5 people who have dedicated much of their lives to the world of fishing and conservation. What happened to them to ignite that insatiable desire to work tirelessly, not sleep for decades, work, fight their dreams, chase their dreams, and eventually attaining a high level of success? Could that initial spark have been at a young age with a simple tug at the end of their line, or later, when a fish bigger than their dreams jumped up and changed their lives forever? That fish could have triggered inquisitive minds towards the unknown by what they saw swimming underwater. Fish are beautiful. They have incredible eyes, colors, indescribable spirits, and they glide so effortlessly along, a fool's game for what lies in the power of their desire to live. Chasing fish changed the lives of our inductees tonight. Their relationship with them made them better. They enriched our sport, and that's why we are honoring them. Since the IGFA's inception, there have only been 136 people enshrined into this sacred hall, we've heard before. And I feel it's important to name a few members of this prestigious club to give us a sobering look at the profound level of greatness of our new inductees who will be joining. And you see these names on these halls: Zane Grey, Ernest Hemingway, Lefty Kreh, and the great Joan Wolfe. I feel somewhat guilty naming only these icons, as all 136 have equal billing. But you 5 new inductees, Basco, Enrico, Capozzi, Mike Farrior, Helen Sevier, and Mr. Joe Yee. Your names will be spoken in the same breath as your fellow Hall of Fame members. And now, it is time for your inductions. We have a total of 13 women in the IGFA Hall of Fame, and tonight that number will increase to 15. And we're going to kick this evening off. Right. We're going to kick this evening off with our 14th woman to be inducted into the IGFA Hall of Fame, Pam Basco. Born into a fishing family, Pam Basco would eventually rise to fame as a light tackle angler. Not only would her angling skills be inspirational to others, but also her work in conservation. And that is why she is here tonight, and she is being inducted here shortly. And with that being said, let's take a closer look at her great work.
Basco is widely considered one of the world's most accomplished female light tackle anglers. Pam grew up in Houston, Texas, and spent summers at her family's house on Galveston Bay, where she was introduced to fishing, catching sea trout, red drum, flounder, and other inshore species from family boats and piers. As she grew older, the urge to venture further offshore pushed Pam to ride along on her family's Bertram yacht, oftentimes on trips that were 150 miles one way into the Gulf of Mexico to reach the fishing grounds. After reading about other female anglers like IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame inductee Deborah Dunaway, traveling to exotic locations and setting world records, Pam began looking at the possibility of setting her own. It was the competitive nature of the sport that drew Pam into record fishing, the one-on-one battle between angler and fish. In the mid-1980s, Pam began to venture out of Texas to a variety of destinations, targeting new species of fish. Since that time, she has traveled around the world, targeting world record fish in top destinations with some of the most prestigious captains and crews in the industry. In her lifetime, Pam has amassed 14 IGFA World Records for a variety of offshore species. Pam has prided herself in changing the perspective of several tenured offshore captains and mates who, prior to her arrival on the boat, were opposed to the concept of light tackle angling. One of Pam's first world records came in July 1992, while fishing off Kona with Captain Kelly Everett aboard the Northern Lights. Pam was attempting to set the Pacific Blue Marlin record on 20-pound test, but ended up reeling in a 203-pound, 8-ounce yellowfin tuna, which still stands as the IGFA Women's 20-pound line class world record to this day. Perhaps the most challenging of her light tackle endeavors was the pursuit of the IGFA Women's 6-pound line class world record for Pacific Blue Marlin. After many years of chasing this dream, and many failed attempts along the way, Pam eventually accomplished this goal by landing a 141-pound, 8-ounce fish in November of 2006 off Kona, Hawaii. Although it was not a world record catch, one of Pam's fondest angling memories was catching a black marlin on the Great Barrier Reef to complete her IGFA Billfish Royal Slam. It was the largest fish of her life, weighing an estimated 850 pounds. To this day, the vision of catching that black marlin is embedded in her mind, and in her own words, "When I close my eyes, I can still see her." In addition to her impressive angling resume, Pam has been actively involved in several angling and conservation groups, including serving on the IGFA Board of Trustees. Pam also joined the International Women's Fishing Association, IWFA, in the mid-1980s, and served on the board in several positions, including president. For her service, Pam has been recognized with the K. Young Award, the Lance Award, the IGFA Bob Herder Light Tackle Award, and was inducted into the IWFA Hall of Fame in 2019. Along with her involvement in these organizations, Pam became heavily involved in conservation through participation in numerous fisheries advisory committees. According to Pam, the more I fished, the more I realized I needed to do more. The network of available committees and the opportunity to get involved were there. It was also the opportunity to sit across from commercial anglers and lobbyists and show the strength and will of the recreational angling community. I loved being able to share information from those meetings with other clubs and organizations. When asked about her impact on the angling world, Pam said, "As an angler, we're charged with the task of giving back to our sport. Get involved in conservation organizations and volunteer your time to help make a difference in fisheries management that will protect our sport for future generations. My motto is catching fish should just be the reward for the time spent protecting them." For her considerable angling achievements and commitments to fisheries conservation, the IGFA welcomes Pamela Basco to the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
On behalf of the IGFA Board of Trustees and our members around the world, I am pleased to induct Pam Basco into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame. And as she makes her way up here, Pam, I'd like to read a quick letter from a few of your friends that couldn't be here tonight. Pam, you truly deserve this honor. You earned it. We are seriously sorry we couldn't be with you at this special moment because we had this fishing trip already planned. And you know what comes first. Congratulations, your fishing sisters, Molly Fleming, Terry Andrews, and Deborah Dunaway.
I stand here this evening in awe of a most amazing honor. Enrico, Helen, Michael, and Joe, I'm honored to be inducted with each of you into the IGFA Hall of Fame class of 2022, and honored to join the other Hall of Fame members. Many I've known well, and many I wish I would have known. But I did not come to this honor alone. Many came with me on this journey. The IGFA trustees, reps, the staff, the incredible captains, the mates, board and panel members, clubs and organizations, other anglers, my family and friends, and a few fish that wanted to be caught along the way. As Tennyson said, I am part of all that I have met. I've always had a love of water and the mystery of what swam below me. As a child fishing Galveston Bay, I would never have thought I would be standing here tonight or having traveled around the world in search of records, especially my favorite game fish, the majestic marlin. It's been a wild ride, but it hasn't all been about catching fish. It's been about protection, preservation, conservation of this wonderful sport. It's been about first joining IGFA that made me highly aware of the need for management of our fisheries and the need for education of the anglers that are catching those fish. I would like to thank the Board of Trustees and the entire IGFA family for this Hall of Fame honor. Thank you, Johnny Mars, for being a great friend to IGFA, and thank you to all the friends and family of the inductees that are gathered here tonight. I want to give a special thank you to my friends and family who have supported me through the years and understand my passion for fishing and conservation. I had a little something special happen today. I received a special gift, a lovely tea lei that represents celebration and honor in Hawaii. Mahalo to one of my dearest Ohana families, Carol and Scooter, for sending the lei from Kona across the beautiful Pacific to spread some aloha to this Hall of Fame evening. Aloha, and I leave you with my motto: catching fish should just be the reward for time spent protecting them. Thank you all so much for a wonderful evening.
Jason might be coming up here. Come on, Jason. Love you. What was that? Help her down. You got it, absolutely. I'm good on this one. Enrico. Have you ever heard of Alberto Tomba? Yes, no? Have you ever heard of Alberto Tomba? There you go. Viva la Tomba, eh? Gustavo Tone, Alberto Tomba, these were great skiers. I skied with them, with Gustavo. Then when I retired, I was an announcer, for the Olympics and World Cup. And it was really funny because it seemed like all these great skiers in Europe had the same joke. So Mark Girardelli won 5 World Cup titles. Alberto Tomba was Alberto Tomba. He was a celebrity. He was a superstar, one of the greatest skiers in the world. And when they had heard that my wife and I had a child, Alberto said to me, "Andy, congratulations. What did you name him, Alberto?" Right? When I saw Mark Girardelli from Luxembourg, "Andy, I heard you had a baby. Did you name him Mark?" Anyway, from Italy, the great fisherman, Enrico Capozzi. He is our next inductee. Within a short period of time, a young fishing prodigy will show you his soul, as did with Enrico, on the docks of Portofino, Italy. But it wasn't until he saw something on the wall that electrified his core and changed his life forever. Capozzi had a pedigree from a world-famous family, but he found his own calling and became one of the greatest bill fishermen of all time. Here is his story.
Capozzi is one of the world's most accomplished light tackle billfish anglers. Born in Milan, Italy in 1961, Enrico's journey to becoming a famed world record seeker started when he was a child. Taught to fish by his mother, Enrico was given his first fishing rod as a young child. During the summer, he was a fixture on the docks of Portofino, where he fished for mullet and other small fish. When he got older, Enrico began traveling with his father on business trips. At the age of 11, while visiting Mauritius, he saw the mount of a world record blue marlin at the local fishing club and became immediately obsessed with the species. While fishing there, he saw what he still believes to be the largest blue marlin he's ever seen. This event would profoundly change his life forever. During his teens, Capozzi went to school in Italy, England, and Switzerland, where he found that he had a talent for languages, eventually becoming fluent in 6. At 17, Enrico began working with a family business of high-end fashion stores. During this time, his family business opened stores throughout the Caribbean, which allowed him and his father the opportunity to fish extensively throughout the Caribbean and Central America. Enrico retired when he was 28 and relocated to the Caribbean, where he would feed his passion for fishing full-time. At first, he was consumed with catching large numbers of billfish and would travel seasonally to famed locations such as St. Thomas, Venezuela, Panama, and Cabo San Lucas. After several years, his focus shifted to catching billfish on light line, eventually leading him to seek IGFA World Records. Capozzi started chasing records on conventional tackle in the early 1990s. By the early 2000s, he'd amassed a total of 33 IGFA World Records for 11 different species, including 4 species of billfish. His crowning achievement was a 735-pound 3-ounce black marlin, caught in Australia on 6-pound line. This catch still stands as the current IGFA record and is the heaviest multiple-to-1 catch ever recorded for a billfish. During this time, he was constantly innovating with tackle, boats, and other fishing gear. He also taught himself to fish light line with the reel in and out of free spool, using his fingers as drag to prevent fish from breaking off. Enrico spent several years trying to break the men's 2-pound conventional sailfish record of 111 pounds that was set in 1993. However, he came to the realization that fish of that size were no longer in abundance. So he switched to targeting billfish records on fly, something with which he had no prior experience. During that time, he taught his longtime companion, Stacy Parkerson, how to catch IGFA records on light line, who would later become an accomplished IGFA record holder in her own right. Enrico spent countless hours learning how billfish can be caught on fly, while at the same time designing fly rods and customizing reels. His first IGFA fly record was caught in 2007, which was a Pacific blue marlin weighing 104 pounds 2 ounces on 12-pound tippet. And in just 5 years, he amassed a total of 10 IGFA fly records on 6 species of billfish. All but 3 of those records still stand, and he is the only man to have IGFA fly records on 2-pound tippet for Atlantic sailfish, Pacific sailfish, and white marlin, as well as 8-pound tippet records for Atlantic and Pacific blue marlin. Capozzi's fishing accomplishments extend beyond IGFA records. He's caught over 10,000 billfish, 14 IGFA billfish Grand Slams, an IGFA billfish Super Grand Slam, and an IGFA billfish Royal Slam. Enrico was awarded 27 times by the Billfish Foundation for most billfish releases and was awarded the IGFA Bob Herder Light Tackle Award in 2008. He readily acknowledges that his success has been a team effort and said, "I loved fishing with my team, including Stacy, Captains O.V. O'Brien, Scotty Jones, Bruno Lorica, and mate Pelon Ruiz. We drove each other to be better. I was proud to fish with them and hoped that they were proud to fish with me." When asked what fishing has given him, Enrico said, "Fishing has given me passion, a challenge, and unforgettable memories. I'm a perfectionist that loves to learn. Fishing has taught me that billfish species have their own personalities, and over time, I got to learn them well." For his considerable angling accomplishments, the IGFA welcomes Enrico Capozzi into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
I'm going to say it again on behalf of the IGFA Board of Trustees and our members around the world. I'm pleased to induct Mr. Capozzi into the IGFA Hall of Fame.
Well, this is a very emotional moment indeed. Thank you so much for this. I kind of had a speech in my mind, and after seeing this and the wonderful people around here, I forgot it all, really. One thing, I named all of my boats Spirit, I mean Spirit of Pilar or Pilar. Little did I know that back then I would ever be here tonight sharing such a prestigious wall with Ernest Hemingway and all of these unbelievable talented anglers and ladies and gentlemen in this wonderful world that's sport fishing, which has been my passion, my life, which I dedicated, and sharing it with the very special people that I had the fortune of being with me through these many years, which I have spent chasing what I love. And my captains, my mates, which I'd like to repeat. Scotty Jones has been with me a long time. Bruno Larica, O.B. O'Brien, which unfortunately is no longer with us. Eddie Wines, Bubba Carter, the outstanding Pelon, my buddy, Hola Pelon, is unbelievably talented mate, teaserman, gaffman. He's been next to me for many, many hours during my very long fights and difficult quests. like my centurion and a great friend, which I wish could have joined us tonight, along with everybody else. The Australian outstanding crew that we have achieved incredible records, Sparrow, Beagle, Dean Butler, great talent, fearless, and probably the most professional rum drinkers that I've ever met in my life. Stacy Parkinson, my fishing partner, incredible, talented achievement that she's had, and my life partner. My daughter, who was here tonight, Alexa, who flew from London to be in this particular occasion. My other daughter, Virginia, who couldn't be here, she's in Florence, busy with her family. Thanks to my parents who allowed me to do this, and thanks to friends who surprised me last night, Carlo, Alicia, and Greg. Thank you. It was a wonderful surprise. Thanks for everyone that I've seen again after years in this occasion, and thanks to IGFA for this great moment. And obviously, I usually don't get emotional because otherwise I wouldn't be successful at doing this. But thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Congratulations. Thanks. Our next inductee is one of the most selfless people I've ever helped induct into this prestigious Hall of Fame. When you look at his resume, it's obvious. Mike Farrior has dedicated his life to preserving the history and evolution of our sport to the world. Let's be clear. This statement is just the beginning of his enormous life in fishing. Let's take a closer look at Mr. Farrior.
Michael Farrior's devotion to sport fishing began as a young man during a trip to Alaska, which inspired his interests in saltwater fishing, travel, painting, writing, and archaeology. Farrior first began researching the sport of big game angling more than 50 years ago, which required the accumulation and study of numerous catalogs, old angling books, vintage tackle, and interviewing the previous generation of anglers. Farrior's photographic memory, persistent research, and public engagements sharpened his knowledge of the techniques and the evolution of fishing tackle used by the pioneers of the sport. Over the past several decades, Farrior has authored numerous articles about the beginning of our sport, including detailed accounts of how the Tuna Club of Santa Catalina Island played a pivotal role in establishing big game sport fishing as we know it today. This is where the world's first rod and reel caught tuna, marlin, and broadbill swordfish were taken, says Farrior, speaking of the waters near his home in Southern California. One simply cannot overlook the tackle advancements in rods, reels, lures, and more during this time, as well as the development of the very first fish flags, outriggers, and fishing kites. Farrior is considered by many as the first to explain the true story of sport fishing's origin. His collection of materials and artifacts begins with the infancy of saltwater angling on the eastern seaboard of the United States in the late 1860s, which transitions to the Florida Gulf for tarpon in the 1880s, and eventually in Southern California in the 1890s for tuna, marlin, and swordfish. Farrior joined the Tuna Club in 1988 and has served as historian for nearly all of his 34-year membership. Farrior also served as the chairman of the Tuna Club Centennial Celebrations in 1998 and served as the club's president in 1999. He also penned the privately printed History of the Tuna Club of Santa Catalina Island, 1898 through 1998, earning numerous awards, including Best Outdoor Book of the Year. Additionally, Farrior served on the Salton-Stall Kennedy Grant Program out of St. Petersburg, Florida, which resulted in the first genetic blueprinting of bluefin tuna and authorized a grow-out pen and reintroduction of the California black sea bass. In addition to his prominent angling resume, Farrior has received numerous awards and proclamations for his philanthropic support of the promotion of youth angling education. Through his work at organizations such as Plant Grow and Eat Youth Program and the Boys and Girls Club, on many occasions, Farrior sponsored the cost of charter boats to introduce youth groups and at-risk kids to fishing. Farrior was selected as an IGFA trustee in 2002 and was named the first historian in the organization's history. In recognition of his volunteer work for the Tuna Club and the IGFA, Farrior was honored with the title of National Treasure by the United States Congress, and he was entered into the Library of Congress. In 2013, Farrior was honored with an induction into the prestigious California Outdoors Hall of Fame. In 2017, Mike was honored by the Billfish Foundation with the Winthrop P. Rockefeller Lifetime Achievement Award. When asked about these and so many other types of recognition, he stated, "I've clearly benefited from a lot of other people's love." For his contributions in revealing our sport's adventurous history, and for his successful efforts to introduce youth to recreational fishing, the IGFA welcomes Michael L. Farrior into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
Please help me welcome our national treasure, Mike Farrior, into our IGFA Hall of Fame. Wow.
Thank you for that very
National
much.
treasure.
Yeah. National treasure, and the paychecks are just incredible. You can imagine. You know, there's a common theme coming through here tonight, and I have to also thank so many people. I say it is all about love, this sport of ours. But it's a common theme of the friends and the people who have helped us all along the way, and the importance of our giving back to them and enabling them to be successful as they possibly can in all of their endeavors. I think that is really what this sport epitomizes. We share so many things, and nature is but a piece of it. It's really about the human element and finding more about a person in just a few hours on a boat than you could in a lifetime in an office, right? There's a lot to be said for that. But I'm very proud to have some fellow Californians here today. Had no idea they were sponsoring all of this and working with me, but the Tuna Club is, of course, birthplace of big game fishing. The IGFA carries that on, and I'm very proud to be this historian for the IGFA. I thank you for that very much. It's a great honor. And as you can see tonight, we're still making a lot of history. There's so many things that you learn, you know, just from something like this evening when some people's stories are told. It's a wonderful thing. So again, I just thank everyone in the sport fishing world. It's just been a wonderful thing to me. I hope you all just stay strong and keep loving the sport, doing everything you can for it. Be all that you can be. That's what the world gives us a chance one time to do. And I thank God too for my beautiful wife Susan, who has been with me through some recent trials and tribulations. That's one thing, sooner or later it starts catching up with us a little bit, our health. But I'm lucky enough to be here and be back with the IGFA, and being the first historian of that grand organization is an unending source of pride. Thank you.
Mike, congratulations once again.
Very much.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Thank you. gentlemen, so much. Appreciate it.
Who could have imagined a young woman, a young girl, Helen Sevier, born in Mississippi, taking heart in bass fishing and eventually becoming one of the most important and powerful people in that field? Her outlook on obstacles working within a typical man's world and what her genius did with it is nothing shy of incredible. Here's a closer look at Helen's walk into this Hall of Fame.
Helen Sevier was born in the small town of Enterprise, Mississippi in 1941. At age 8, Helen caught her first fish while fishing with her father, a 10-pound largemouth bass that is still her biggest to date. After receiving her master's degree in marketing from the University of Alabama, Helen began her career working in direct marketing. In 1970, Helen became the third employee at the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society, B.A.S.S, and immediately put her direct marketing experience to work. At the time of her arrival, the organization had less than 10,000 members, and by the time she left, the organization in 2001, it grew to over 600,000. Helen was also a proponent of conservation within the industry. As she describes it, without the resource, without the fish themselves, there is no B.A.S.S. In the beginning, many of the tournaments run by the organization allowed for the harvest of fish. Often those fish were donated to local food banks or children's hospitals. However, as the organization grew, Helen, along with President Ray Scott, decided that moving forward, all tournaments run by the organization would be catch and release. This decision led to one of the most significant adaptations to the bass boat, the live well. The organization held the first Bassmaster tournament in 1968, 2 years before Helen joined the organization in 1970. However, over the course of the next 3 decades, Helen played a vital role in the massive expansion of the Bassmaster Tournament Series. It was during these events that Helen drew the greatest pleasure from her job, building long, meaningful relationships with bass anglers from all walks of life. Helen purchased B.A.S.S. from Ray Scott in 1986 and served as the president and CEO of the organization until 2001, when the organization was purchased by ESPN. During her tenure at B.A.S.S., Helen served on the board of directors for the Sport Fishing Institute and helped guide the merger with the American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers Association to form the American Sport Fishing Association. As a woman in an industry historically dominated by male figures, Helen never backed down from a challenge. In her words, "I never looked at things as obstacles, just opportunities, and how you get over them. You can't let things like that trip you up. You might accept it as a challenge, but you should view it as an opportunity." According to Helen, the greatest accomplishment in her time with B.A.S.S. was the push for both conservation and youth angler education. With access to over 2,500 local clubs and federations, B.A.S.S. made it mandatory for each club or federation to have its own conservation director. Along with this push for conservation, B.A.S.S. used these clubs and federations to reach over 1 million children over the course of a 4-year span. These programs allowed the organization to introduce the concepts of appreciating fishing, conservation, and aquatic resources. When asked how she would like to be remembered by the angling community, Helen said, "It's not about you, it's about people. You should spend your life determining how you can help people." B.A.S.S. was successful because of the passion that the people within the organization had. You don't always catch all the fish, and in our case, you don't catch all of the fishermen. But I look back and think how lucky I was to be part of it. For her considerable accomplishments in promoting sustainable bass fisheries and conservation, the IGFA proudly welcomes Helen Sevier to the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees and our members worldwide, I'm very pleased to induct you into this great Hall of Fame. Congratulations. It's wonderful.
Thank you for that. You know, it's without a doubt, first of all, I almost was not here. Jason kept calling and calling and calling, and guess what? I thought it was spam. I didn't know the area code. You're not the only one. Turning those telephone calls down. But I tell you what, when I heard what he said to me, I was very, very appreciative, because I never would have thought my name, my face would have ended up in such a distinguished group of people, many of whom I certainly have read about, I stand in awe of, many of whom I consider to be friends and partners, and many of those that we stand back and think, gosh, we're so happy that you were involved in the sport of fishing. One of the things that I might mention, I think they said I came from a little small town of Enterprise, Mississippi, born obviously into a community of probably 500 people or less. So I grew up fishing as a young child. I stand back and I think about those opportunities, because if you think about it, if you're in the country, there's not much else to do but go fishing. So this is one of the things my dad as a young child took me. I had a brother who is the one in my life today. Not only did I go everywhere he went as far as fishing was concerned, but I also pulled, and many of you probably don't have a clue about what this is, pulled grapevines. And I ran the squirrels out and he would shoot them. And I'm standing out at the bottom, not really realizing what I've done. But my family certainly has been a motivating force, and my mother won anything that I couldn't do. And I think that was one of the challenges that I accepted when they came on. She always looked at things as opportunities, go for it. I have a lot of my family here tonight, some are at home that couldn't make it, and they still are a motivating force in my life today in terms of trying to reach out and do some things. I know it's a trite saying that you've heard before, it's standing on the shoulders, but in my case, it's true. Jason said, well, you try to give credit. No, 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 it's true. If I think back as far as what I've been able to accomplish, and there it went. I got through with this interview, and I thought, you know what was wrong with that interview? I. And it's all about them, or you, or what others have been able to accomplish. And I stand on the shoulders of people that I look back on, and again, in terms of all. Ray Scott, one, for coming up with the idea of B.A.S.S. Two, I look in terms of a group of federation members. We had 2,800 clubs, but 32,000 members. I went to Washington one time, and I don't know what group it happened to be, but the point is, they looked at me and they said, you know what you are? And I said, what is that? And they said, you're an 800-pound gorilla. And I got to thinking about it, 800-pound gorilla, and what it was is all politics is local. They needed a lot of help for us in terms of pushing it back down through the system where we could write letters, whether it happened to be for Wallet Broke, or let's figure out how to do things as it relates to not only making it accessible and available, but making fishing better. Because what you have to understand is we had one promise as far as bass fishermen is concerned. You might notice I have a bass patch on. And that was simply to make them a better bass fisherman. When I joined and we sent out the first letter, it happened to say, not every fisherman wears this patch, can you? The other ad that worked very well was, would this patch make you a better bass fisherman? So we took this little patch and we put underneath it 2,800 clubs, 32,000 members, 55,000 life members, and 600,000 bass members who were willing to go to work for us. Now those organizations, in terms of the 2,800 bass clubs, typically all they wanted to do was tournament fish. But we told them, one, you can't tournament fish unless you have a conservation director, unless you have a direct use director, and this is what you've got to do within your state. Then you may have seen something, it was Bass Summit, and I can't remember the Secretary of Interior that came to be a part of it, and we brought in all the various elements of Fish and Wildlife, BLM, whatever the case might have been, Coast Guard, to participate in this roundtable of figuring out what we should be doing as an organization, as well as what they should be doing in terms of their mission, which was part, and in most cases, heavily focused on providing recreational fishing. So I look back and I think about that as far as saying it wasn't I, it's again other people, and that's the thing that I think in terms of my pleasures in being able to revel about this. I think about my B.A.S. family, who were 200 employees that worked so passionately to make things happen. It wasn't about just an ego in terms of I'd go back home and say, guys, you know what? We got applause. We were standing at a classic where we'd pull in 125,000 people to go through an outdoor show, and I got a guy from General Motors, Chevrolet, standing up beside me. By the way, Chevrolet trucks were the #1 truck, not an F-150. And he looks at me because everybody's just applauding him madly. And he looks at me and he said, I'm not using expletive. He said, heck, nobody's ever applauded Chevrolet. But that's what we brought to the table, was a fervor, a desire, an interest, children, lifetime members, people coming a part of something, all of it, the common denominator happened to be bass fishing. And I look back in the days that I've had the pleasure, that's what I had for 31 years, was watching an organization grow, but watching an industry grow. Johnny Morris, for example, fished our early tournaments. And he'll tell you to this day, and if you go back through those halls back there, they're just so wonderful. You'll see a lot of bass stuff there. But it was my pleasure to be a part of that. And one of the things I think as an organization, and we tried to serve, but the main thing is something Einstein said, and that was try not to be a man of success, but rather a man of value. And it always comes back to you. One, I think we want to be respected, but two, the return is multiplied when you really and truly provide something to somebody. So in my life, I stand back with great pleasure of being able, certainly, it would have to make you prideful to be associated with this. But when I really think about it, in my life personally, and in fishing, and boy, I did like to fish. I just want, no records, I'm sorry, can't match many of you. But the one thing I can say is that's simply an old German proverb. And that happens to be what I earned, I spent. What I saved, I lost. But what I gave, I have. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. IGFA, I love you. Thank you.
And in that video that we just saw of Helen, I don't know if you noticed, there was a magazine article, the top 10 most powerful women in professional fishing. She was #1. She should have been inducted a long time ago. Anyway, there's a man out there by the name of Joe Yee who is watching from home. Mr. Joe, this is your evening. You have friends here. You are going to be inducted into this IGFA Hall of Fame in just a few minutes after your video, but we want to let you know that we are thinking about you and we're sorry that you're not here. But anyway, our next inductee, Hawaiian Joe Yee, 94 years young, has lived an incredible life on an island. As a young man, the ocean before him was his playground. But with time, it evolved into something beyond his imagination. But it was his imagination that brought him to the forefront of anyone who wanted to catch monster 1,000-pound marlin. Take a look.
Joe Yee is one of the world's most successful and sought-after lure makers. Born in Honolulu, Hawaii in 1928, Yee's love of the ocean began as a surfer. But he would later become known as the creator of some of the most sought-after marlin lures ever created. Yee grew up on the island of Oahu, where spending time at the beach and learning to surf was a natural pastime. During his teens, he met Duke Kahanamoku, an Olympic gold medal champion and widely credited as the person that spread the sport of surfing across the globe. As surfing gained in popularity, Joe worked for Duke and began crafting surfboards. It was here that he honed his skills in shaping fiberglass. One morning, Joe was on the beach when he saw Japanese planes flying overhead. He recalls wondering what was happening, and the attack on Pearl Harbor began moments later. Post-war, Joe became an aircraft mechanic, and through ingenuity, he discovered that by combining techniques he learned in carving surfboards and aircraft parts, he could create hard heads for marlin lures. In 1960, I was changing the plugs on a plane, brought the plug home and filled it with resin. And that was the first lure mold I made, recalls Joe. At the same time, IGFA Hall of Fame inductee Peter Fithian began the fledgling Hawaiian International Billfish Tournament. Held in the marlin-rich waters off Kona, Hawaii, the annual tournament drew anglers from around the world and quickly grew in popularity. Joe sold his lures during the event, and they successfully caught marlin. Soon, anglers were bringing Yee's lures back to their home countries, and his lures gained popularity across the globe. While the idea of machining the lures to meet demand may have been tempting, Yee continued to handcraft his lures. By incorporating shells, teddy bear eyes, colored resins, and other interesting items into the head, each lure is unique. However, the design of each lure is specific and honed to run true every time. When asked what makes his lures so effective, Joe simply says, they catch fish. With names like Crackerjack, 505, Apollo, and the Super Plunger, it is said that Yee's lures have caught more marlin over 1,000 pounds than any other handmade lure. One of those grandeurs was landed by Ray Hawks during the 1993 Hawaiian International Billfish Pro-Am Tournament. The giant Pacific Blue Marlin was caught on Yee's Super Plunger. It weighed 1,166 pounds, earning him the IGFA World Record for the 50-pound line class. This incredible record remains unbroken. However, that was not Joe's most remarkable catch. When asked what was, Joe recalls in 1985, I was fishing Kona with my first grandson, my granddaughter, and my wife. I was fishing my Strawberry Pearl Super Plunger and caught a 775-pound marlin. That was one of my favorite catches. Family and the tradition of lure making runs deep in Joe's family. At age 95, Yee is semi-retired from lure making, and his grandson is now carrying on the tradition. For his lure-making innovations and their impact on marlin sport fishing, the International Game Fish Association welcomes Joe Yee into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
Well, congratulations, Joe. You are now an official member of the IGFA Hall of Fame. And here tonight, his friends, David Finkelstein, Stefan Weitzman, and Rocky Franek. Is that right? Franek. These guys are telling me earlier about the relationship that they've had with you, Joe, over these last 40, 50 years and all the fish that you guys have caught together. They made mention of family members passing. Everybody is a family. They travel. It's a true brotherhood. They're just not fishing buddies. Fishing buddies are fishing buddies, but fishing family members are brothers. And I know that you guys are brothers of Mr. Joe, and I know you all have a few words to say in his honor.
First of all, we want to say hello to the family. They're back there watching us. Joe, Joanne. I'm truly humbled by what's going on here tonight. And I think Joe would have no idea about the magnitude of this award. We've fished with many of these people back here, and I'm absolutely blown away. And I want to recommit to the dedication to IGFA and the principles for which you stand. I just want to also introduce, back here is Tony Campus and Bill Evans, and between Joe and I, and those two guys, we have fished in the Hawaiian International Billfish collectively for 165 years. If you add up how many times. Joe and I have fished together for 60 years. I will tell you, you saw how he started on the beach in Waikiki as a surfer and so forth, but later on in the 60s and 70s, when I would go to Honolulu, he would hang out with captains of industry, political people, deckhands, boat captains. I've traveled all over the Pacific fishing with him. It's unbelievable. So this is a well-deserved award.
I'm absolutely honored to be a friend of Joe's, and thank you very much to this whole group that recognizing Joe. Go ahead.
It's not very often you get to know a living legend, but he is. He'd love to be here, but you couldn't make it. So this one's for you, Joe.
It is truly humbling to be here to represent the Yee family. And on behalf of the Yee family, Joe, Joanna, Michael, Stephen, and Kaylin, I'd just like to thank you all. It's quite an honor, and Joe would be humbled. He's a humble man to begin with. And I think, as Rocky pointed out, you know, fishing cuts across all demographics. It's a great lowest common denominator. The guy next to you could be a brain surgeon or a garbage man, but you still have the same passion and the passion of this community. And it's wonderful that the IGFA takes the time and preserves all of these records and histories of the sport that we love. So humbled, and thank you very much for Joe.
Can we call our wives and teammates up here for the picture, please?
Sure. Okay. Come in here, Andy, too, on this side.
Come on, you guys. This is my wife, Judy, Tony Campus, Bill Evans. This is the group with Joe. We have 165 years fishing together in HIBT. 3-time champions and a lot of top 10 finishes.
You don't take up too much room.
Hey, Joe.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Really appreciate it. That pretty much wraps everything up tonight. And in closing, I'd like to say congratulations to all our great inductees this evening. It's just fantastic. I'm so glad 2 more women got involved, and now they're 15. And hopefully in the near future, that number is going to climb very quickly. Again, congratulations to each of the deserving inductees. We thank you for your contributions to this wonderful sport and for inspiring generations to come. As we wrap up another great ceremony, I'd like to once again thank all of our great sponsors. Obviously, Johnny Morse and the great Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's as our presenting sponsor. Our Zane Gray sponsors, Bonefish Tarpon Trust. They got a big event. They do a lot of great work in conservation. We work very closely, with the closure of the Western Dry Rocks this last year. Mark Rubine, thank you again for being here. Mike Criscola, one of our trustees. Roy Croniker, our leader, our visionary, and a wonderful, wonderful man that we have right now that's leading our ship. And to the great Tuna Club. Travel well, everybody, and we hopefully will see you on the water, and transportation back to the Vandervoort will leave promptly at 9:30. Again, travel safely. Catch them up. Thank you.